Hey everybody, I hope you're keeping well. I wanted to do a quick video on cables, that super exciting topic. Cables. This is my astronomy cable box, and basically any cable that I need to use for astronomy is pretty much in here. And I just wanted to go through what's in here. Now this, I'm afraid I've left this in a complete mess since I last used it. But I wanted to go through exactly what all of these cables are and why they're really important. So I am going to now reach up and adjust you so you're further down. There we go. Hopefully, I'm just going to check. Here we go. Right, so here are the cables for astronomy. Starting at the top, this one here. This cable here is my laptop power supply. And you can see it has a normal 13 amp plug. So there we go, that's for powering the laptop. The next one, now I made this one. This is a power box I made up. It takes a 12 volt power supply on there, and then it goes to the car style connectors which just plug in, and I wired this so that I could have up to 3 devices plugged in. Now this connector, it is rubbish, such a bad connector, but so much astronomy kit comes with the 12 volt power connectors like that. Now the way I built this, I just wired them in parallel, going up through there, and then you can plug different things in. You've got to keep the current being drawn quite low. So these each have a fuse in, and they're rated at 120 watts, which is very low. So you really don't want to use a huge current from each of these. But this cable can take quite a lot of current, but these connectors can't. So that's for powering different things. So put that to one side. So the next thing, this is my dew heater. And the dew heater comes with our lovely, not very good car power supply. And the dew heater therefore plugs into this, and then I run this off a battery. And in addition to this, this cable here, this black cable here, powers my digital single lens reflex or DSLR camera. So that goes into the camera, and it has a little power adapter. So that is my dew heater and DSLR power supply, and you basically turn it up and down, and the 2 dew heaters on the telescope and on the guide camera go on there, and then you turn up the amount of current going to the dew heaters to stop the buildup of dew. So that is next. Okay, the next thing, now these are really useful. These are really simple USB extension leads. Now you have to remember, with USB 2 you cannot go above, I think it's 3 meters, or it's either 3 meters or 5 meters. I think it's 5 meters. So these leads are 3 meters, and they are, because your telescope is going to be slewing, you have to make sure that you've got enough slack cable to not snag anywhere. So you need some good quality USB extension leads. So I've got one. I'll come to this lead in a second, so that's really important. 2 of those. Come to that in a second as well. And in here I have another one, so I have 3 USB extension leads. 1, 2, and then a third one here. Now this loom, which is inside a sock, this one here, it's kind of a braided sock, this is a really important lead, and it has in here the USB lead for my DSLR. It has an extension lead, which is one of these USB extension leads, and it has a USB connector which connects to the guide scope. And the idea is that this then, with some Velcro strapping, connects around the back of the telescope and is able to support one cable from the mount onto the telescope, so that the telescope can still slew and the cables won't get snagged. So I've put that in a sock that I had spare. The USB extension lead is just a spare lead in case I need to plug something in. It tends not to be used, which is why it is just left coiled up. So that's my loom and my USB extension leads, and then more USB extension leads. Okay, so the next lot of stuff now, this is going to be, this cable here is probably the most important cable. I mean, they're all important, without them you can't image, but this particular cable for me personally is the most important, and I have to say I am going to have to get rid of this cable very soon, or at least use it as a backup cable. This cable contains the USB to RS232 comms for controlling the mount. Now, at the moment, I am using a hand controller to control my mount. Now, this apparently is not the best way to do it, but it's the way that works for me at the moment. And the alternative way is to not use this, get rid of it, so you don't use that, but you plug your USB to RS232 directly into your mount using what's called EQ mod. Now, I don't use EQ mod yet, and it is going to be my next step to move to EQ mod. But at the moment, because I'm at the point where this method works, it's reliable for me, and I'm imaging with it. So if I change something, there's going to be quite a steep learning curve for myself, getting everything configured again, which in the UK, with the limited clear skies that we get, takes up a lot of time. So at the moment I'm still using this method, which is a point of failure. That, with more cabling, is another point of failure. So therefore this isn't the most efficient method. The EQ mod software plugs directly, without this, into your mount itself. However, this cable plugs from the computer as USB into the base of the hand controller, and then it allows you to control the mount through the hand controller, so that you could use programs such as astrophotography tool, and most importantly to be able to use plate solving, because plate solving allows you to find objects super accurately. So there you go, it plugs directly in there, and then the other side would plug into the mount. But very soon I will do away with this bit and go for an EQ mod setup, but I've not got to that point yet. So this cable here is super important, and they're actually quite hard to get hold of now. I've struggled to get hold of this one. So I only have one of these, and in an ideal world I would have a spare, because if this fails I can't control my mount. So that is why you should always have, if you're going to control something, it's best to always have two, so you've got some redundancy, but I only have one of these. So yeah, there you go, but these are really important. So the next thing in here, I have these little metal shims. Now, my mount is an EQ5 Pro, and the mounting bolt screws directly through onto the dovetail. It doesn't have a clamping mechanism which prevents damage to the actual dovetail. And you can see here, if I hold these up, you can see lots of little indents on there from where the bolt has gone through. I put these between the bolt and the dovetail, and this gets damaged instead of my lovely dovetails that cost a lot of money, whereas these, I pretty much just have bits of metal in my workshop, and I use those. So that's what those are for. Next things in here, I have, whenever you get a USB lead, I put it in this box because it's really useful to have spares of everything. So here, just a simple USB lead for plugging various stuff in. So I probably have several of these. Now the next thing in here, yes, power leads. I made up some power leads because so much kit, sometimes you don't have mains electricity, so you need to power stuff off batteries, and it's really useful just to have a few leads made up. So eBay is your friend, and you can get some of these terrible connectors, which are the car power adapter, and then make up some little power leads so that you can plug stuff in and test it if you haven't got mains power. So these are super useful, and I've got 2 or 3 of these. So here's one, here's another one, there's a piece of sock that I'm not using. So there we go, there's another one that I've got, the different type, but still with one of these funny car power adapters. Now, this is a lead that I've not tried yet. This is a USB 3 lead. Now my guide camera is also my planetary camera, and it is USB 3, so it can either use USB 2 or USB 3. Now USB 3 has a higher frame rate and a higher data transfer rate. So very soon I will test this, hopefully when Venus comes back up again, and then I can hopefully do longer frame counts using a USB 3 lead. So again, just Amazon or eBay, you'll be able to get some USB 3 leads. Another random piece of sock. Now this, there we go, another power supply, one of those dodgy car ones, going to another adapter. So here, this is called an intervalometer, and it basically plugs into your DSLR camera and allows you to be able to control your DSLR camera to do long exposures, because most DSLRs will only do up to 30-second exposures. So if I don't have a laptop with me and I know I'm onto a good subject and I just want to be able to take some exposures, this will allow me to do it. You can put in the delay time between shots to allow the camera to save the shots, and the number of shots that you're taking, and also the exposure time. So that is super useful. Again, eBay, they're less than £10 usually. Very, very useful. We're coming to the end now. The rest of it is pretty much kind of bits and bobs, odds and ends. So that's a DSLR camera charger. We've got another, this looks like it's, so that is a USB focuser, which allows me to control a electronic focuser. So again, it has one of the dodgy car power supplies, which seem to be beloved of astronomy equipment. And that's pretty much it. These are just random bits. Again, USB cables, another power supply cable, which I made up. Going to another car, I get hundreds of them, car power adapters. And then these are just little connecting blocks, which have ended up at the base there. So this bit, this is interesting. This is called a baton-off mask, and it allows you to focus. When you're setting up an astrophotography tool, you go to a bright star like Vega or Sirius, and once you've centered that and it's plate solved to those, you pop this over and it creates diffraction spikes even, on the image, and when those are in a perfect shape, when you've adjusted your focus, you know that your stars are absolutely pinpoint accurate. So that's what that's for. So that's basically all my cabling which you use for astronomy. So all this and this allow you to control your mount, your PC, your cameras, your dew heaters, and all your batteries and stuff. You can see from all of this why cable management is really important, because otherwise you just end up with a big rat's nest like this. So I keep all of mine nice and neatly in a box normally. Now I'm currently working on this, which I'm hoping will help me. Basically, these are little circuits which, again, off eBay, and this one allows me to take 12 volts and to step up to 19 volts. And when I've done some testing, this will potentially be able to power my laptop if I get everything correct. So that power supply will allow me to do that. And this one, this gives a series of USB outputs, and each of those will have 5 volts at 5 amps, which will be perfect for powering different items on the mount. So it gives USB power output. So I was going to mount all of these in a box like this, and then hopefully this could be one of my power solutions. But I haven't got there yet. I haven't quite built this. I was going to have a bunch of connectors and other things on. But I will let you know how I get on with this. So there we go. All the cables in the world that you need to do astronomy stuff. So thanks very much for watching. Like and subscribe, and take care, everybody.